Because your dream would be that they make life stage gifts more than once, not just the one-time only bequest, but life stage gifts. But you have to have that conversation and not be afraid of it.
Very good. Anyone else want to respond? Yeah.
Well, I think it was in the first session you had. I think Pam made a comment that, and I think, Pam, you might have been quoting Harvey DeVries.
Oh,
when
I was.
Yeah, but your comment was something along the lines of, this was Harvey's famous statement, if they're interested in supporting your organization and they have questions about their income or their assets and is it going to last long enough, all the things Pam said. And the question is, would you like for me to show you how you can do that? And that's what planned giving is about in a lot of instances, is coaching someone to do something that she already wants to do.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
And you just need to help them sometimes figure out how to do it.
To find the mechanics.
Yeah, Harvey actually said the role of the gift planner is to say to everybody, would you consider making a planned gift if I could show you how?
Very good.
That is a great line.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a true line.
We have a technical question. Well, two-part. I'll go through both of them. Where can you sell art? And I'm going to look at Brian because he's been through this. And what are the absolute no's of planned giving? Telling a donor they don't need to work with a financial advisor or whatever. What are the absolute no's? First of all, where can you sell art? What if somebody wants to give a piece of art?
Yeah, this is a little out of my area of expertise, and I have the advantage of working at a large charity, obviously. Whenever art comes up, I just call John Wilhite and say, what do we do? He's our individual that handles all gifts of real estate and tangible personal property. Art, so I sort of know vicariously through what he does. I mean, oftentimes it's the first thing that has to be done is to identify if the art should be sold as a collection or individual pieces. Trying to, I think the term is provenance or provenance. Trying to show as much ownership as you can, and then oftentimes, it requires taking those pieces to a major market where there is a market, oftentimes through some sort of auction house, which is always interesting to see play out because the fees are astronomical on the sale.
I think we had to have two appraisals, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
two separate independent appraisals of the value of the art, but then you got to sell it, and then you negotiate, and it costs a lot to have things appraised. And who's going to absorb that? Is that going to come from the value of the gift, or is that going to be absorbed by the foundation? So those are a couple of questions. The second question: what are the absolute no's? Is there an absolute no's of planned giving when you get into it? Like, don't ever say that, or what? Don't, your foot will go right in your mouth. I don't know, Leslie or Lori. I don't know if you've had anything.
I mean, go ahead.
Go, no, you go.
Okay, I would think telling the donor what to do with their money would be a no. We talked about letting the donor tell you what they're passionate about, what is their charitable will, all of that. I think one of the things you want to not do is to try to steer the donor in a certain direction. Mm-hmm. You want to listen to them. I mean, that I think would be critical, because you'd get a gift that may not be what they intended or what they wanted. That could cause problems down the road. I mean, that's one thing that stands out to me.
For me personally, I'm not a tax expert, and in no instance should I talk to them about the tax benefits of their planned gift. That's not my place. My place is to help them decide in the best way that they can help our agency and move forward with our agency. So if the conversation steers towards things that are not in my area, I have to say, well, let me find a resource for you to help guide you with that.
Lori has just reiterated one of the model standards of practice for the charitable gift planner, which a lot of people don't know about. But you could go online. It's called Model Standards of Practice for the Charitable Gift Planner, and they have been agreed to every year by the Association of Fundraising Professionals and the Partnership for Philanthropic Planning. In fact, when I rejoin my council every year, I have to re-sign. And a lot of the never-do-its are on that model standard, and you really ought to read all of those, because it says things like, I can never get a cut of the gift. That's a great one. It says just what Lori says. Shouldn't talk about things I don't know anything about. It says I should involve other people if the other people should be involved. I should, say to people there's an upside and a downside of your charitable gift, because there always is an upside and a downside. So it really just, I think going to that will give you a great sense of what's required. And I will tell you, a lot of fundraisers have never heard of that. If you really should look at those, share those with your board, and ascribe to those or put them on your website. Honestly, so ethics matter in what we do. Buku.
Very good.
Putting them on the website is a smart idea. We have them on our website, those kinds of things, so people know ahead of time what we are able to do for them and what they really should get professional advice for.
Right. Very
There's
good.
even a donor bill of rights done by the Association of Fundraising Professionals. Read that too.
Exactly. Sue, I was going to ask, is there any one thing, in responding to that question, is there any one thing that just, get out of my house, in terms of that absolutely don't do this? I know how you are. You're very professional and businesslike. You don't need to give you a lot of malarkey.
No, that's right. I don't like that. I think if they would try to tell me where, I think I would always ask, where's the need? And I'm happy to hear that. If it's not where my passion is, then I don't want to be pushed in that direction.
Very good.
In my personal situation, I think most of it is undesignated, because the places that I have given my money, I trust that their boards are very thoughtful, and I have no idea what the need is going to be when I loose the mortal coil, and so.
That's a great, perfect lead in. Thank you for this next question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
I just want to make sure, one of the things I think helps the most with individuals who are talking about planned giving and all sorts of giving with donors is having gift acceptance policies. It's really important to have those, because when the individual says, I have this collection of ceramic dolls that I have been collecting forever, your organization might not be able to actually accept that gift because you don't have the capacity to evaluate it and sell it and all of those sorts of things. And you can go back to your gift acceptance policies instead of saying, well, I'm making this decision that we're not going to do this. It's that our board has made the decision. These are our gift acceptance policies. It helps a lot.
Lori raises a great point, because you get so close to some donors, you want to accommodate them. And I will tell you that one time I remember getting offered a guy calls and he says, I've tried to sell this condominium in Bloomington for a year and a half, and then there was a big sigh, so I guess I'll give it to you. So we did our research and found out there were 15 units for sale, and this was the most expensive. So do not be afraid of saying this to a donor. Our job is to raise spendable dollars to further the charitable mission of this organization, and it's not real estate management. Do not be afraid of saying that, because that's true. Sometimes you have to remind people what your mission is, and just do not shirk from that, because that is in your mission.
That's a good point. And I think a follow-up to that is perhaps directing them to someone or to a resource that could help them sell their China dolls or sell their real estate, then come back and see me. The next one, and this is a great lead-in before, most unexpected bequests come unrestricted. Should the charity then create an endowment for them, and Tim touched on this, if they don't already have an organizational endowment? Can they be directed into an existing endowment? So anyway, Brian, I'll let you lead off, because we talked about, that came up earlier in terms of a planned gift coming to you that's unrestricted.
At least at the Indiana University Foundation, we cannot endow funds unless there's an explicit direction to do so.
Okay.
So in the example that was raised, if it truly just says, for instance, to Indiana University, period, and there's no further direction beyond that, the default would be to an unrestricted account at Indiana University.
Well, going to Lori or Leslie, then could you talk to an individual? Perhaps would you consider an endowment or establishing an endowment?
Yeah, so our practice is actually the opposite. We are in the business of and we put it in our gift acceptance policies that if we get a planned gift, that it will go into the endowment unless otherwise specified. So when we get